right, we're here in La Piedad with Ivan Salazar, the COO of Red Sun Farms, El Rosal in Mexico, Michoacan. So last year we did a disinfection here in Red Sun Farms. They have numerous acres here, but I'll ask Ivan here to explain a little bit about how many acres you have here and what exactly you grow here.
Okay, well, what we do here basically is we run high-tech greenhouses, and we have bell peppers and tomatoes, different varieties of tomatoes. Mainly beef tomato, TOVs, and then we have some cherries, we have some grapes, and grapes and cherries in different varieties and color. So basically our operation is around 60% tomatoes and 40% bell peppers. We have right now 115 hectares running and operating, and we're still building a little more hectares.
So 115 hectares.
Hectares,
okay.
Yeah, that's correct. So basically one of the main things that we have to fight here is plagues and diseases for tomatoes. We're divided in 3 different zones right now, which is one location right here close to La Piedad, another in Estación Pénjamo, another location in Numaran, Michoacan, and we're building another project in Guanajuato, close to San Miguel de Allende.
Okay.
So basically that's who we are.
So Red Sun Farms employs roughly 1,300 individuals.
Actually, we're around 2,000 right now.
Oh my goodness. 2,000 is fantastic. So we're looking at almost 2% of the population of La Piedad, which is an incredible contribution to to the town that they support. So Ivan and I basically established connection a year and a half ago when he heard about TechMist and our ability to control disease, basically bacteria, mold, fungus, viruses, viroids being the most difficult to kill, and in the hot temperatures, the hot climates, the viroids actually are quite aggressive. So Ivan and I talked a year and a half ago, and we came down and did about 60 acres, 70 acres last year, I believe.
70 acres.
70 acres. And we basically focused on Clavibacter. I mean, some of the beneficial side effects like Picudo and some of the other insects that we killed were simply beneficial. But tell us a little about your Clavibacter, like what kind of percentages, what were some of your maximums, what were some of your minimums, and a little bit of an average on some of the Clavibacter issues you were having.
Okay. Well, basically what we were trying to do last year when we got in touch with you is trying to find a solution for Clavibacter specifically, right? So what happens here is that in tomato crops, the main concern is Clavibacter to control it, because at some point during the crop you're always going to have it. So basically our way of controlling it prior to finding your solution was to, during the crop, do let's say the cultural habits of the plants, to take them out and be really secure in the hygiene of the personnel and the entries of the greenhouses.
More mechanical removal.
Exactly.
Too. If you saw it, you would remove it.
Exactly. So we had it controlled at a certain point, but still you have a lot of damage at the end of the crop. So talking about percentages, we would end up with a crop that was affected around 10 to 15%. So it's pretty much, if you go for a 365 days crop, doing the interplantings and whatever. So when we started last year to do the disinfections, we realized that this year we had actually one of the greenhouses we didn't find any Clavibacter at all.
So some of your growers that I was speaking to had mentioned that in some of the places, let's say Naturo Bell, I believe Noé's greenhouse last year, had up to 75%. It was a little bit more dramatic. Of course, you had some greenhouses that were very low, that were almost not showing it at all. But in some of those greenhouses, we had absolutely nothing, right? The results were a total kill, which is of course what we want to have, and which is what TechMist's goal is, and which is obviously what you want to have in your yield, is 0 Clavibacter.
Luis Alvarez.
Luis.
I am grower assistant.
Grower's assistant for Red Sun Farms in La Piedad.
Yeah.
Okay, so my company, TechMist, was here last summer,
Yeah.
and we did a disinfection for 70 acres. So we did many for Clavibacter, right?
Yeah.
But you say that many places here had some Clavibacter, which I knew.
Yeah.
Sometimes the highest was 70%, and some of the lowest maybe 10%, 15%. But we did our spark treatment, and you said you saw a big difference. So in the one we did last year, how much right now is there maybe? So,
When for this time of the season, we're beginning with Clavibacter in 3 greenhouses. Greenhouse number 8, greenhouse number 9, and greenhouse number 11. I have the numbers, the total of plants I lose in every each greenhouse.
yeah.
And it's a lot of plant.
And you have that in your documentation here,
Yeah.
so you see the exact numbers.
Yeah, I know exactly numbers, and really is a big difference between one greenhouse and another greenhouse. One with disinfection and another without disinfection. The greenhouse with disinfection have only 4% Clavibacter.
With our product,
Yeah.
with Spark.
Yeah.
So, but the other greenhouses, some maybe have 45, 50%.
Around 44, 45%,
Right,
and it's less. It's
Right.
less the infection of Clavibacter.
very much less.
Yeah.
So I have talked to the owner of the place here, and I found out that the reason why maybe you have 4%, because I like to see 0%.
Yeah.
Okay?
Also.
So I like to see 0, you too.
Yeah.
So I think maybe the reason why we have 4% is maybe seed. Okay, new plants have a little bit, maybe. But I think main reason, the only greenhouse we put the carts in, picking carts, those greenhouse, like Noé's greenhouse in Arturo Bell, had 70% Clavibacter. Now, 0. And because we had all the carts in there, because Clavibacter lives on the surface of a cart for 8 months.
8 months.
So it's very important to put the carts inside, and then we do the disinfection for a complete disinfection. So I think now we see that the product works well,
Yeah.
but now it's strategy. We need to get the carts in,
Yes,
maybe gloves, who knows, plastic, different things, kill everything, start fresh.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, I appreciate it, and happy to help.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
For us, it's just a great result. And some of the issues that we found that we got Clavibacter back was mainly because we didn't get all of our tools inside the disinfection when we did the disinfection.
Right. So another question I had for you was the comparison that I did for you when we compared all the different greenhouses that we did. I believe we did 11 or 12 last year. When I compared and gave you the carbon number, so in other words, how clean a greenhouse was compared to the dirtiest greenhouses. Something that Techmus is quite proud of is that this is kind of the first time in the history of greenhouses where you could actually measure your results. You can actually see when your disinfection has peaked, and combining all the data that our canaries actually collect, we can actually come up with a carbon number which gives you an idea on how clean the greenhouse was before. Is that beneficial for a grower to be able to see, oh yeah, we used a lot of pesticides, we have pesticide residual, maybe it wasn't washed good enough. Is that helpful to you?
It is, but it's not as helpful as it's going to be in 2 years when we need to do the disinfection again, and we're going to have those results. Exactly.
Yes.
Because for you to analyze what the result would be, since we didn't have anything to compare prior to this.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see what I'm getting? So
100%.
next time we do the disinfection in those greenhouses, we're going to compare where we were when we start up and now the results. So the result is going to be a lot. It should be a lot more cleaner, a lot more efficient the next step, like that disinfection. So
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward for in 2 years or 3 years to do that, to compare it,
To be
and
able to
keep
see.
the history results to have a better analyze of the results of the disinfection and the control inside the greenhouse during the crops.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. That's a good point, actually. I mean, there's got to be a first in order for there to
Exactly.
be multiples. Another question I had for you is biologicals. Of course, you're pretty focused on biologicals.
Exactly.
Maybe even more so down in Mexico than in Canada because of you know, the climate, the temperature. So with biologicals, when you pay for your insects, they come in. It's not often that you have a perfect take every time. And a lot of times we've discovered that the reason for that being is that there's pesticide residual. That could be, let's say for example, when you took the crop out, you fog, there's maybe some permethrin or whatever pesticides you've actually used, there may be some residual. Then when you get your beneficials in, they can actually suffer a little bit from that. Now, one of the benefits that TechMist has is that we actually break down those carbon chains, right? So a permethrin chain, we actually steal the carbon out of that, break it down, oxidize it so it's no longer a pesticide. How beneficial is that going to be for you? I mean, it's quite expensive, of course. I mean, Canada, some of the numbers going around are, you know, $1.80 a square meters for you know, $1.80 per square meter for beneficials, right? So, but then if it doesn't take, then they either have to go over to pesticides to control their insects, or they have to try another take. So,
Well,
what is it for you? I'm curious. I haven't ever asked you
The
this.
thing is that we've been working with biological control here for a long time now. So it's funny because when you mentioned when you use chemicals, when you do the cleanup and all that, basically what we do is try to do the cleanups the most natural way possible.
Perfect.
Okay, so we don't actually focus on a lot of chemicals during the season or the cleanups. Basically, what we do is quaternary water, the salt
yeah.
waters, some of that. It's basically what we use.
Viracid and Virkon,
Exactly,
which are very good.
exactly. We don't use that big of chemicals when we do the cleanups. What we do focus on is to actually really clean. So
Yeah.
use the soaps that we need to use peroxide like we've been using the last 2 years, and try to do something more, let's say, natural, because one of the main things that we know about the plagues is that if you use chemicals, you're gonna make them stronger next year.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically we're trying to do it the opposite way, and it's been working for us. And now that we're doing the disinfection, well, it's better than anything, because how they're gonna resist that, you know?
Right.
So it's basically we're working on another emphasis for that, you know.
Okay.
So the really connection with the disinfection right now is that it's helping us to do a surgical procedure in 1 day.
Absolutely.
So that's very efficient for us.
Yeah.
And it gives us a couple of days more of the crop to,
Yeah.
to produce a little bit more, to pick a little bit more, and do the disinfections and the cleanups with some days fewer than we used to do it. So that's really efficient. That's the main focus, right?
I'm glad you actually brought that up, because I know that even with our washing system, which is not in Mexico yet but will be here, you know, we can wash 200 acres in a single day with all the equipment that we have. But I'm glad you pointed that out, the fact that you can actually do the disinfection overnight when nobody's in, there's zero downtime, and in the morning your workers can actually be ready to go back into the greenhouse, and it's fresh. Not only that, it's a safer environment for them because you've actually removed residual potential pesticides, which I know you guys don't use a lot of because of your control systems here. Your operation is very organized and clean, and I noticed the water trucks coming by to keep the dust down, and I've noticed a lot of good you know, biological protocol for control that I've seen, and I travel a lot. I see a lot of different greenhouses. So that's very exciting to be able to see that, and you notice that time savings is money in your pocket.
Exactly.
And so in Canada, we generally have, for every 10 acres, it's a $30,000 a day loss in growth production. And so I'm sure that's very similar out here too. Lost production is lost money, so this is fantastic for you to be able to get up and run. So with our new system that we've developed, the Cube, we essentially can ship it directly into Guadalajara or to Leon, depending on what aircraft are flying there. And it actually is very efficient for us because we can now bypass the transit. And the transit before took whatever 7-8 days to drive out here. Our Cube now allows us to actually get the system to you within a couple of days. If we have the paperwork, it allows us to get the system to you. I can fly in, do a treatment anywhere you need within a couple of days' notice. So another question I had regarding Red Sun Farms is, with all the different produce and different vegetables that you use, do you see TechMist or our Spark application benefiting you in something besides Clavibacter? Is there something that we can potentially focus on to come up with a solution, say for, okay, the Bicudo, we did some tests on basically pepper weevil, so we can kill it readily, but there's different thresholds for different insects. So once we discover these different thresholds, maybe we can do an insect elimination. We did in Ontario the other day, we actually trialed a system where we did an in-house gassing with all the plants in. And we realized that we didn't have enough gas in the system to actually react with all the white flies and insects that were there, because this particular operation in Leamington was trying to eliminate all his insects before he took his crop out and put it onto his compost piles, which is smart business. I mean, you're not going to want to propagate more eggs or insects, whatever, for future costs. So you want to sterilize that. So this is something that TechMist is actually experimenting with, but we're also trying to find those right thresholds, because there's so much organics inside a greenhouse before we clean out that there's ethane, ethanol, methane, lots of different gases coming out that our gas has to then first react with, and then of course treat all the surface areas of the plant. So is there anything that would you see that as a benefit if before crop takeout?
Of course. Let me give you an example. If you have a greenhouse which is infected with the virus of the whitefly, TY, and it's very complicated for you as a grower to get rid of the whitefly already inside, even after you do a cleanup or whatever. This will definitely kill all the whitefly inside.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So if you have an infected whitefly in there, for sure it's gonna take care of it. Right. Then you can do a startup of a new crop with no problem at all. So you can start your biological control against the whitefly or whatever after you do that. But if you have a big problem, thrips, whitefly, even picudo, it'll get rid of it that day.
We have the insect snap traps that we of course brought last year and we perfected this year. So now we have 100 cartridges with 4 chambers in each cartridge, so we can actually do many different tests. So if that's any benefit to you in the future, if you want to discover you have a pest, an insect that you want to get rid of, even from rodents on, we can actually get the thresholds. If you could have some of your growers actually collect the flies, we can put them in the traps and actually do the test live while we're doing a disinfection to show you that we can actually eliminate those insects. So that's a very big benefit. New test kits. We've got numerous insects that we've gathered from around the area. We've got pill bugs over here. Alright, so here's the results, the final results. We've got a cricket, pill bugs and spider dead here. We've got the dung beetle dead, the stink bug. We've got 2 of these. This is a little flying insect on the left there. That one is dead as well. I believe the black widow is still alive. It appears to be alive, but everything else in this compartment is dead. The ants are dead. Earwigs, small spider over there is dead. Earwigs again. The beetle here is dead, and the moth is dead. One of the questions that I had for you is, of course, this year we also introduced the pulse cannon, the pulse mortar as we call it, and again, the reason I don't know if I formally introduced that technique to you, but it's actually using infrasound. It's a pulse wave that actually sends our particles that are essentially 179,000 times smaller than the smallest water droplet that you normally fog inside a greenhouse. So you can imagine these little particles floating around and then having a blast wave that just pushes them into your lava rock, into your substrate, into your fiber, whatever it is in the greenhouse, any cracks and crevice. That pulse cannon creates a sometimes 125 decibel wave that equalizes, that can actually be compared to Pascal. So some greenhouses, I'm sure you're aware of, that you can actually pressurize the greenhouse, right?
Yeah,
Like Windset and Santa Maria, you can get 17 kilopascals, pressurize the greenhouse. We had phenomenal results. So out of that, we actually came up with the solution of introducing the pulse mortar. Obviously, you've heard that, so that's an exciting new contribution to the disinfection that we're doing this year, and we hope to see exciting results out of that as well, just to try and get it that much further than just the surface of the greenhouse. So anyway, I appreciate obviously you having faith in us originally. I mean, I'm sure you talked to other people and did your due diligence, but having faith in us to come out and do the first test, and we're extremely excited as contributors to global solutions, environmentally green solutions, and efficient solutions to be able to help you. So appreciate your time, Ivan.
Thank you.
And look forward to lots of business in the future.
Hopefully.
Okay. Gracias.
Nah.